Megan, on my screen, you're the first one in, so for what it's worth, congratulations. Stacy. Hey, Jay. Hey, Ralph. I'll wait till we get it. Greetings from the UK. Good to see you, Don. Irma. Nice to see everybody. Hey, my sister, Jessica. Good to see you. Evening, JD. Hey, my mom and my sister. Hey, Renee, Farina, love you. All right, if we hit 150, I'll get started. I used to have a thing where I could go on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, but Facebook doesn't want any apps like that, so it's just Facebook today. Hey, Lisa, good to have Montreal. Hey, Magalis. 149. Looks like Facebook's going to cap me around 200 tonight. Good to see you. Amy Peters, good to see you. Hope your family's doing okay. All right. When was it? It's been about 24 hours since George Floyd was the man in Minneapolis that it's one of the most disturbing videos I've ever seen. Uh-oh, my audio's out? Okay, you good. Normally if somebody's having audio problems, I don't care, but it was Magalis and she's pretty good. Hey, Amy, nice to see you. So I'm not going to stay on like I stay on in the studio, so I'll try to hit these as quick as possible. Of course, the huge video that came out yesterday was George Floyd being knelt on with a knee in his neck by a Minneapolis police officer while his partner ran cover for him. And then I guess there were two other guys beside the car that were on the police force. And I waited, It's not smart to just, when you see a bad video, to just launch out and start giving your opinion on it because more facts come out later, potentially. If you find out that the guy had just finished strangling a 3-year-old girl to death or something, then it would change your reaction. So you wait a little bit and you find out. You can tell me in the comments what he was being arrested for. I know he resisted arrest, but I mean, if you watch that video, it's one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen because you can tell you're killing the guy. And he's saying, "You're killing me," and he can't breathe, and the guy won't get off his neck, and then he's not moving, and you can tell he's dead in his face, which to me is always it's one of the most disturbing things is to see somebody dead with their eyes open. And there's no defense of it. So, I mean, there's a bunch of viewers that piled in here. I don't know what you thought my opinion was going to be, but obviously, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm 100 against that. I was the first person on the scene of an accident one time, and I was helping pull people out of the car because the car was smoking and it looked like it was going to blow up. It was me and a couple of truckers. And that was the first time I ever saw a dead person up close. That's the most brutal thing I've ever seen. And then this was probably second because, you don't see a guy get killed on camera much. I mean, just like the whole murder is there. So that guy's in trouble. President Trump, all the policemen, I believe, were fired, all 4 of them. And then President Trump tweeted today that he wants to make sure that they have quick justice about it. Kofi said he wrote a bad check and they called the cops on him. I'll tell you, I'm having trouble thinking of a crime that would be, not that any crime would be deserving of that. I'm trying to think of a crime that would be less deserving than that, of what happened, of like disproportionate response. So the man's name's George Floyd, who's gone now. Boy, if that was for writing a bad check, then I should have been killed probably about 6 or 7 times when I was in college for not being able to balance my checkbook. That's insane. Totally insane. It would have been insane if it was shoplifting. It would have been insane if it was about any crime. So I don't know what you can say. You know, people, death is terrible. Family that has to deal with that. And I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything about his family. But wherever they are, my heart would go out to them. It's totally wrong. I don't know how you condemn something anymore. I mean, obviously for the president to come out and tweet about it and say he's directed the FBI to look into it because he, you know, obviously doesn't trust the Minneapolis. Well, I won't read into his motives, but to make sure there's not any kind of corruption in the Minneapolis internal affairs and police. So I want to bring out a couple things from this because obviously any dummy can be against that. I mean, I honestly haven't seen anybody take the side of the police for any reason. I mean, that thing was so brutal. I think KKK members would have distanced themselves from what happened. It was horrible. You didn't see anybody speak up about it on social media. So I just want to bring up a couple of other things that I'm not sure whether you thought of or not. Did you notice that there were protests today? There's protests still going on. There's looting going on right now as I'm doing this video. Did you notice that there's no counter protests in favor of the police? And I'm going to tell you something. This is a prediction I'm going to make. I think this is going to be a bad year for police. Because why do you think when the police were caught killing people in custody, or however you want to phrase it, somebody died in their custody, and it was white officers and a black suspect, there would still be people, we back the blue, you know, just there would always be people protesting on the Black Lives Matter side, but then there would be people protesting for the police. So let me ask you a question. I'd be interested to see your answer in the comments. Why do you think that there's nobody protesting in favor of the police? When the police did bad stuff before, I don't know, but, you know, the fact that this one was not only bad, but the entire murder is caught on video is a different story. But still, why do you think there's no pro-police protest? And I'll be interested to see if anybody has the correct answer. Waiting. Good to see you, Pastor Tom. All right, nobody has any guesses, so I'll tell you. The reason that I believe there were no protests in favor of the police is because of what just finished happening the last 70 days with the lockdown, where you've seen videos of the police obviously not kneeling on people's necks. I'm not trying to compare it to that. But let's be honest, what used to happen? You did have black people treated differently. You know, whether it's from, I'm not saying all police are racist by any means, but you have a large proportion of the black community that lives in high-risk neighborhoods. So they get treated differently. They get accosted all the time. You know, you hang out in a certain neighborhood at a certain time of night, and you're gonna have officers approach you and ask you what you're doing. Where, like, the neighborhood I'm in right now, I could hang out at 2 in the morning, and the police would come by and wave at me because there's no crime here. And if you want to throw into it that I'm white or whatever, you know, whatever. So you have a different feeling among a lot of the black community with police, different than you would somebody who grew up in neighborhoods like I grew up in. But you want to know what? Those days are pretty much over. I think, personally, that the average person now, upper income, middle upper income, white, black, Latino, I think one of the things that happened in the 70-day lockdown was the police showing up at people's homes, questioning people about having a child over to play with another child, or arresting a mother for pushing her children on the swing, or arresting someone for sitting on the beach by themselves. You want to know what's happened? Basically the way the black community would have felt in South Central LA or a bad neighborhood in Chicago or Philadelphia about the police, I feel like nationally, I know the lockdown changed how I feel about the police. And if you watch me, you know, I've said before, when it comes to being pro-police on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 12. Because I've spent time in nations that don't have any law and order. And it's really bad. You can't have a functioning nation without law and order. So as somebody that was as pro-police as you could be, I can tell you that the last 70 days changed how I feel about police. Not that would generalize them and hate, you know, flip one off or whatever. I don't mean like that. But I'll tell you, I think the way that the inner city black community, the feeling that they had about police, where they you know, almost about, many of them had stories of a family member being hassled for no reason, treated differently for no reason, you know, stopped in their car and they weren't speeding and ordered out of the car at gunpoint. Well, now you've had white mothers in the suburbs have that stuff happen to them, and it's on video. The police officers' choices to enforce what governors have done, to me, I didn't find it shocking that there were no all lives matter, support the blue. There were none of those protests in Minneapolis. It's going to be a hard year to be a police officer, because the lockdowns turned them into like what you read about in your history books in World War II and wondered, how could anybody do that? You saw it all the time. So that was one major difference I noticed. I remember any time there was an abuse of power by the police or somebody died in custody, 2016, 2015, whether it was New York City or that community that's in St. Louis that I can't think of the name. I'm headed there in a couple of weeks. You always had also people protesting in favor of the police, and this time you didn't have it. So when this happened, you had young Christian leaders. You know, I'm going to turn 40 this year, so I would say in my age group, 45 and younger, they were all over social media speaking out against it. And this is the second thing I want to cover, because you had these guys that you hadn't heard one word from during the lockdown, all of a sudden speaking out very strongly against what happened. So my question is, why do Christian leaders speak out against things like this and literally nothing else? And I'm speaking out against it. I'm not saying, so, you know, I don't know why people have reading comprehension or listening comprehension skills. So people say, well, you're saying they shouldn't speak out against it? I never said that. Why do they only speak out against something like what happened to George Floyd, but you never hear them deal with any other issues? You know, and there's plenty of other issues worth speaking out about. So this is what I just wanted to take a little time before I get to the rest of what's happened, and just like think this out with you. Okay, so you had people, they never spoke out about, you had pastors, young pastors, they never spoke out against government infringement against religious freedom. They've never spoken out against, you know, if you're bothered by racial, people being abused because of what color they are, which you should be, then how come you never speak out against actual ongoing slavery against black people that's happening right now in Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates? You have actual slavery happening right now in like some of the highest numbers in all of history. No word about that. No word about the Hong Kong protests. No word against the Uyghur Muslims in China, where you have people based on their race being rounded up in China and put in concentration camps, actual concentration camps, and disappearing. So these people that have such a heart for people being targeted because of their race, how come you never hear them speak out against any other subjects? All of a sudden they turn into these warriors that get on, man, I can't believe something needs to be done about this. Okay, how come you speak up? We don't hear from you ever until something like this happens. Do you want me to give you the answer? Being strongly against something that everyone's against gives you the appearance of being a leader when you're not. Being strongly against something that everyone's against gives you the appearance of being a leader when you're not. So you wait until there's something that happens that 100% of the people condemn, and then you speak out real strongly against it, like like you're taking a stand, but you're not taking a stand when everybody's already on that side. I'm not saying that nobody should speak out against it, but it's interesting that the only time you hear from these people that that they get real upset is when it's an issue that they know literally zero people are going to disagree with them about. And then the other things that I mentioned. So take the trip with me. You speak out against what happened to George Floyd. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's 100 wrong. Okay? You're not going to have one negative comment. So it's an opportunity to make a real strong statement, like you're like this warrior for justice. And then what's going to happen? You're going to get a ton of likes on your Instagram post. You're going to get 900 comments underneath of all people saying, thank you for speaking out. Thank you for taking a stand. You're so right. So it makes you look like you're a leader when really you're not. You're saying something. It's like shouting, 2 + 2 is 4, and everyone needs to understand that. And people that say it's 5 or 3 are dead wrong. No one disagrees with you. So you notice, again, not that you shouldn't speak out, but it's interesting that you only speak out on things that everybody's already against. I'm yet to meet one person that thinks it's okay for you to kneel on someone's neck with their arms cuffed behind their back while they're saying, I can't breathe, you're killing me, until the life leaves their body. Who's for that? Literally no one is for that. So you speak up on that, but then issues where you would take blowback, like the overreach of government to shut the church down. You don't say a thing. You don't say a thing about actual modern day slavery against black people that's happening where they get taken to Qatar, United Arab Emirates, their passports are taken, and they're the ones building the World Cup stadiums. The World Cup stadiums are being built by slave labor. The Uyghur Muslims are being and I'm not a Muslim, but the Uyghur Muslims are being recognized by facial recognition and rounded up and disappear. Not a word. So the only time you come out of the woodwork to speak out against something is when you actually, 100% of the comments underneath are going to be in your favor. So to me, whether you mean it or not, it doesn't ring true to me, because you only take a stand on issues that everybody agrees with. So this is what I want to ask you. When is the last time that your favorite young Christian leader took a stand on an issue that the women on The View held a differing opinion of? Did you notice that? That the people take a stand as long as it's in line with what the women on The View feel. In other words, mainstream acceptance. It's not going to hurt your book sales, so you can speak out about it. You can speak out about it freely. But when's the last time you heard someone? See, if you speak out in favor of Hong Kong, you're not going to get 100%. If you speak out against what's happening in Qatar, people don't like that because people are making a lot of money on it. All that stuff. So how come you never hold an opinion as a Christian leader that's different than what would be accepted on Anderson Cooper 360 or the Rachel Maddow Show or The View? You only speak out on things that 100% of the people are already for. So interesting, there used to be guys I listened to on sports radio. You know, that's what they would do. For a whole segment, it would be like a pitcher got caught drunk driving. And they're saying he's got to be suspended. Drunk driving is wrong. And you think the whole time, yeah, no kidding. You don't have to yell about it for 15 minutes. Everybody knows that's wrong. I mean, unless some piece of new information emerges, those officers, particularly the one with the knee on the neck, should get the electric chair. Of course, I'm sure Minnesota doesn't have the death penalty anymore. Very few places do, but they should reenact it. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. The only way it could have been worse was if it was like an old woman, I don't know, you know, or like a child. That was one of the worst things. I don't know how you could have a knee on the neck of somebody and they're telling you, I can't breathe, you're killing me. And they're restrained. It's not like he was waiting for backup and the guy couldn't fit and the guy never even blinked, you know. He looked like a crazed killer, because basically from the evidence it's looking like he was a crazed killer. No remorse. Obviously, that's horrible, and you should speak out against it. But how come the only time we ever hear from you is when it's something that you're going to get 100% positive feedback about? If you feel so passionately about injustice, how come we never hear from you until something comes out where you're guaranteed to get not one negative Facebook comment? So, those police should be in major trouble. You can debate about the other three that stood by. The guy with the knee on the neck, I'm sure he won't get the death penalty. They're probably, I haven't looked over Minnesota law. I'm sure there's not a death penalty. If he gets sent to prison, it's basically going to be the death penalty. And it's going to be a worse death than he would have got if they gave him the death penalty, because, I don't know, unless they keep him away from the general prison population, but I don't know, that's pretty hard to do in prison for a long time. So he's probably going to die. If he goes to prison, he's probably going to die a much worse death than the one that he gave Mr. George Floyd. If he doesn't see prison time, I mean, that was on video. There's no way to spin it. I don't know. I haven't even seen anybody try to defend him. I haven't seen any right-wing people try to defend him. I haven't seen the Ku Klux Klan has been very silent about that. You cannot defend. Nobody can defend what that guy did. I think the devil would take a step back, like, you know what? Even for me, that was a little rough. So that guy, if he doesn't get put in prison, if he gets put in prison, he's likely going to die. If he doesn't get put in prison, they're probably going to burn Minneapolis to the ground. You say, who do you mean by they? The citizens of Minneapolis is who I mean. Because it would be a filmed injustice. You know, it's all on video. So that's what I have to say about that. Let's talk about some other news that's gone on the last 24 hours. Since I have you here, just breeze through it real quick. Number one, it's great to see the COVID pandemic. There's still people hospitalized. There's still people in the ICU. There's still people that are going to pass away. Quite a few of them. But the decline in the turning of the pages is evident. And one of the reasons is, did you notice now, there's other things in the news. You know, like what we're talking about now. The coronavirus ran its course in about 70 days. Of course, there's still going to be some aftermath from it. But I thank God that the predictions that were made either, March 6th, by the experts, that every hospital bed in the United States would be full by May 8th, that never came to pass. New York got hit seriously hard. Long-term care facilities got hit seriously hard. In North Jersey, obviously that area. But I thank God that remember the original predictions were 2.5 million dead. I know 2 people personally who died from coronavirus, COVID-19. So obviously it's not positive that anyone died. You're not trying to spin it that way. But we thank God it wasn't something that wiped the nation out, where it's like everybody knows somebody in their family who died, which was how it was looking it was going to be. So we thank God for that. And we thank God that it looks like this is over. Or, you know, it's gonna, we're on the other side of it, would probably be the best way to put it. And that the virus is tailing off hardcore. Remember, when they announced how many people died, those people have been sick for 2 or 3 weeks. So it's not like people, you know, you see in the news all the time that somebody got coronavirus or a certain state reopened yesterday and 2 people died today. So those things don't correlate. The people that you see die every day are from a while back. So you're going to see it drop off a cliff. The hospitalizations, I've been following the testing percentages and all that. You're going to see that continue to drop off a cliff between now and the end of June. Disney World announced they're going to open up July 11th. And then here's evidence that the thing is, yeah, Della said, what's your thoughts on the predicted second wave? As of today, scientists are saying they don't think there's going to be a second wave. Because first of all, if they didn't store COVID positive patients in nursing homes and long-term care facilities, there wouldn't have been that much of a first wave. That accounts for 40-some% of the deaths. So scientists are starting to say because of the countries that have opened up in Europe and America and they're not seeing a spike, they don't think there's going to be a second wave. An NFL official told Rush Limbaugh that they're expecting to play to packed crowds in stadiums in September. So the news behind the scenes, like when you see President Trump keeps tweeting, there's good news, we're going to be able to open up schools. I've been following the virologist reports and the graphs, and it's looking like the thing's going to die at the end of June, you know, and die between now and then. And, you know, that's why you're seeing Disney World making plans to open up and the NFL saying that they're going to be able to pack stadiums. The other piece of positive news is that the Republican National Convention is planning an indoor rally, you know, with like 30,000 people indoors in an arena, which I think's in July, you know, 6 weeks. So that lets you know where the experts feel like the thing's on its way out permanently. The next battle that you're going to want to be vigilant about is these governors closed their states down for 70-some days. They haven't been getting any sales tax revenue, or I should say drastically reduced sales tax revenue. All the taxes that come in when people spend money, people have been shutting their homes and can't shop. So tax revenue is way down. So you've already had governors start to do it, and you're going to need to watch out for this, that in your state, there's going to be talk about raising property tax, raising state income tax, and they shouldn't be. You made the decision to lock down unnecessarily in most states. You did a strategy that should have been a New York City strategy, North Jersey, and you kept it and dragged it out forever and hurt businesses. You can't pay for your decision by re-hurting the people you've already hurt. So fight that with every fiber of your being. What's this one? I wrote it so small. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about masks. I'll tell you a couple more things and then I'll leave you alone. On Check the News last night, Savannah Hernandez covered masks, fact or fiction, for the whole program. I would encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, do that. Jonathan Shuttlesworth. And she covered that and did a great job. But I found it interesting that Fauci, whether it was a slip of the tongue or whatever, they asked him about wearing masks and whether they really help. And he gave some kind of answer about, like, whether they help or not, they're a symbol that you're aware of what's happening and that you want to help. So that lets you know what the thing is with masks. Because remember, unless you're wearing whatever that top of the line is mask, I can't remember which one it is, whether it's the N95 or whatever, that's the only one that offers viral protection. The other ones, they say it's like trying to keep mosquitoes out with a chain link fence. It doesn't stop virus coming out and it doesn't stop virus going in. And Fauci admitted as much. He said it's a symbol. And that confirmed what the anti-mask people have been saying, that the mask is almost like a red ribbon was for AIDS. It's like your signal that you understand and that you're complying and you're having safe sex. That's what the red ribbon was. That the mask is basically just like a big virtue signal. Kind of a mistake on his part. You have to wonder, did anybody, the other thing is, they're going to do away with social distancing and masks. You want to know why? It's where I'm at, you can eat in a restaurant. The servers wear masks at most of the restaurants. Almost everybody has them on like this, with their nose open. You know why? You can't wear them for long periods of time and breathe. It cuts your oxygen off. So even people wearing it don't wear it correctly. And the social distancing doesn't work in real life. And you could show, if I was in my studio, I could show you a ton of videos. You can't practically do it in real life. Stay 6 feet away. What are you going to do? Like at Walmart, you're in an aisle, somebody walks in the aisle with you, slam yourself up against the wall as they go by. It doesn't work. And once people are out, and the more the stats die out, people aren't going to do it. How many of you saw the looting that's going on in Minneapolis because of the atrocity that was committed to George Floyd? I had that happen too, Christy. Hey, Rachel, good to see you. Sioux Falls, love you. Sioux Falls, South Dakota City Council announced no more social distancing today. Wow, that's big news. Who is that lady? Megan Timothy Shetter. Thanks for breaking the news. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just skip what I was going to say about Minnesota. But I'll say this: with the looting that's going on, everybody has masks on, and they're allowed to have them on. Don't you think that's going to cause kind of a backlash against masks? You want to know something? That's why I was never really against masks. Because right in the middle of implementing, hey Angela, right in the middle of implementing all of the facial recognition stuff, the mask stuff came out. So I've actually enjoyed putting a pair of sunglasses on and a big special forces linen mask like the guys wore in Afghanistan, and nobody knows who you are. I think the rioting is going to maybe make people rethink the mask. I'll finish with a little prediction. Today's May 27th. Think of where we were at April 27th. There was like 3 states getting ready to open: Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. Maybe Florida a little bit, maybe 4 states. It looked like a bunch of states wouldn't open. You fast forward 30 days. Hi, Senora Iris. ¿Cómo está? What did Rachel write? I was door dashing and the restaurant owner yelled in the mic, "Stand back 6 feet." I was telling people, when people would get close to me in a store, I would go, "That's not 6 feet." And then when they looked real shocked, I'd start laughing and go, "I'm just messing around." I can tell you different states are very different in the United States. Very different in the amount of fear, the amount of masks, all that stuff. Good to see you too, Joanne. So think of how far we went in 30 days. Today is May 27th, 2020. No, that's not true, Della. If you have anything on other than that top of the line mask, it stops bacteria. It does not stop viruses. going out or coming in. The sponge mask does nothing. Cloth masks do nothing. So, sorry to break it to you. What do you think things are going to look like in another 30 days? If we went from 4 states getting ready to open 30 days ago to now, almost every state is open. As the virus continues to die out. And remember how bleak things looked April 27th. It was bad shape. 30 days ago, President Trump hadn't done his America Back to Work speech. So look how things closed, or look how things have opened up. And then I'm going to tell you in another, let me see what Miranda said. We were in Starbucks on Sunday, and the barista from behind the counter told Danny and I to stand directly under the circle away from the counter because we were too close to where people picked up the coffee. Yeah, that's true. DC, there are some places that need help. That was in Texas, Miranda? So, no, it's not just California, Travis. There's a DC's on lockdown. But it's rolling back. So I'm going to tell you in another 30 days, when I'm talking to you, if Jesus tarries on June 27th, I think things are gonna progress even more than they did the last 30 days. I saw that, John. Oh, now that's not good. If you have a Democrat governor, you're in trouble. I shouldn't say you're in trouble. You need to pray. How's that? Hawaii trying to stay closed to tourists. Mayor of Maui said people who work at hotels should get other jobs. Which, Nadia, what percentage of the population is that in Maui? That work on resorts, or their work is somehow tied into tourism? Do you know the percentage? I know it's high. Fort Worth. Yeah, cities are... You never had that in the country, did you, Miranda? Cities are different. You want me to make a prediction? Not a prophecy, but a prediction. I think in 30 days... they'll reduce social distancing to 3 feet. How's this? In 30 days, they'll reduce social distancing to 3 feet. 3 or 4, because it's like a meter, whatever, 3.5 feet. In many states. How's that? Because I don't know about like Washington, D.C., or Michigan might increase it to 60 feet. Who knows? But I think you're going to see a reduction in... Guam's open. Good. No, you're right, Jessica. Wolf's moving counties to green. People open, like Dr. Rodney and I said on the program, people started opening things up on their own without permission, and the governors just had to follow. So, yeah, New Jersey going to phase 1. They weren't going to open until June 11th originally, I believe. So, the lockdowns are over. That's a fact. And whether your governor knows or not, I would say in the next 30 days, they're going to reduce social distancing. They've already done it in Europe, in a bunch of countries, to 3.5 feet. Once you reduce social distancing to 3.5 feet, social distancing's over. Who stands closer than 3.5 feet to somebody, unless you're Joe Biden and there's a 9-year-old girl in front of you with the smell of Pantene shampoo wafting into your nostrils, and you can't just resist burying your nose in her hair. Other than him, who doesn't keep 3.5 feet distance? Anyway. Tomorrow, if Jesus tarries, I'm going to talk to you about how to use your Cash App to benefit you. So if I have time, I'll talk to you then. If you'd like to help me feed 1,000 kids in the morning, because we're still doing that, probably going to do that or more until Jesus comes back, I'm going to send you. Kofi wrote a new prayer book. I'll send one to everybody who gives tonight, plus a random t-shirt. So I'll get you a book and a t-shirt as a way of saying thank you for helping us to keep doing what we're doing. If I have time, I'm going to talk to you tomorrow at some point about Cash App and finance in general. Pete Gillette said, I was in Home Depot and someone came up the aisle looking for something and not paying attention, so I took a stand like I was playing dodgeball, then dove into one of the shelves. She apologized like 10 times and walked backwards until I started laughing so hard I had tears rolling down my cheeks. Well, you and I think alike. That's what I was doing. I slammed myself up against the counter when somebody came up into my row, like I was real concerned, and then, oh, I'm sorry. It's funny to be the initiator. So I'll send you Kofi's new prayer book and one of the OK Karen t-shirts, or one of the ones. This is America, baby, as a way of saying thank you. So hashtag donate if you'd like to give. And I'll say thank you in advance. I'll give you about a minute, and then I'll leave you alone. Yeah, tomorrow's not going to be like a Bible finance teaching. I'm just going to teach you about that app if you're in America, Cash App, and a good way to use it. Thank you, Ace. I own a plumbing company and deal directly with people in their homes. I'm noticing people are relaxing. I've even had multiple people reach out and shake my hand this week. What state, Luke? That's good. Della, I have checked out the mesh thing. You also should check it out. I know what I'm talking about. Oklahoma. It's good news. Thanks, Matt. Will I be on tonight? It is tonight. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Andrew. God bless you guys. Appreciate the giving. Looking forward to sending you an insane t-shirt in the mail and a great prayer book. Thanks, Mr. Luke, out in Oklahoma. Oh, there's Check the News. There will be Check the News every night until the end of time. Even after the rapture, I'm going to have like a heathen person fill in for me. Thanks, Tracy. Churches are open in West Virginia. Great news, Ruth. Thank you, Susan. Look at all the givers. Tip of the cap. Love you so much. Thanks, Barbara. How long was I on for? 43 minutes. That's pretty good for me. Sometimes, if you haven't noticed, I get a little long-winded. Love you, Angela, you and Mike. Savannah's the best. No question about it. For myself, yeah, that's funny, Kimberly. That's great, Vincent Cassandra. Love you guys. Glad, Robbie. Now I'm gonna deal with I'm gonna tell you about I'm gonna give you some money tips tomorrow. We'll have a little chat. Thanks, Mark and Christy. Love you more, Crystal.
and your husband. Thanks, Rodrigo.
All right. Love you, John and Anna. Don't mischeck the news tonight. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. That sounds like a plan, Michael. You're very perceptive, Raina. I love you, Aunt Nancy. Church opens in Phoenix June 12th. That's awesome, Brad. Great news. I missed you guys. Thanks for popping on. Share the broadcast if you want to lose some friends. Talk to you soon.